it meant anything goes. Anyone could die, anyone could fall in love, anyone could die, anyone could fall in love, anyone could die, anyone could die.
Agent Apocalypse.
Concept was so cool.
Agent Apocalypse.
Concept was so cool.
People couldn't believe it. They had to believe it. People couldn't believe it. They had to believe it.
Everything that you hit on the known level. Out the window. Everything that you hit on the known level. Out the window. Everything that you hit on the known level. Out the window.
I'm Jeremy Greer.
And I'm Gary Butterfield.
And this is Days of Future Cast, the podcast where Gary and I are neck deep into Age of Apocalypse, the 1990s crossover event. Gary, how are you today, my friend?
Doing well. It's a special day
Ooh,
because it's our last number one.
that's it. We're done with the number ones. Only number two content. And if you read our reviews, you know exactly what we mean by that. Yeah, this is the Amazing X-Men, which is kind of our this is gonna be fun, dude. I'm excited about this one, to read this one.
Yeah, me too. This is the Fabian Nicieza, which I should probably learn how to pronounce that since I'm gonna be saying it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
During this series. His version of X-Men, I can't remember if this was Uncanny X-Men or Adjectiveless X-Men. I think this was Uncanny X-Men in real life. Could be wrong about that. And this is the other team. As we mentioned, as we previously established, one team is sent to go stop the Cullings. The other team is sent to go help with the evacuation.
Yep.
This is the evacuation team. We're going to be dealing with a different one of Apocalypse's horsemen when we get there, and kind of a whole different sitch.
Yeah. The cover features our team, which is Banshee, Storm, Quicksilver, X or something. Who is this dude in the corner?
Exodus, who is the guy who ended up running the Acolytes
There you go.
after Magneto was turned into a vegetable during Fatal Attractions.
And then Dazzler and Iceman, who's all souped up. I want to call specific attention to Storm, who looks like she is A, missing a leg, and B, also has a very cool pose happening. Like this hooked arm, like she just made a jump shot or something. She just made like a hook shot or something, but like lightning's coming out of it is extremely dope.
She's about to dunk somebody's head under the water.
Yeah, but she is definitely missing a leg, right? Like where is her? Yeah.
It's going backwards. It's the best will in the world. It's hidden behind her, like the dish towel that she's wearing that covers up her crotch.
Okay.
And then going behind Quicksilver's leg, which she's also kind of caressing his upper inner thigh.
Ooh, sexy.
Like there's a lot going on, man.
Yeah.
Like this Storm, everyone else is pretty reasonable, and then Storm just really taken to the streets.
I feel like this is like a magician's trick where she's like, look up here at the lightning while I jerk Quicksilver off. We can't see it.
That famous magician's quick. Well, Penn Jillette's always jerking off Teller under the table. That's like the whole point of their comedy thing.
That's why he never says anything, right?
Yeah, he's close. If he talks, it'll ruin it. The lightning is right in front of the X in the logo and stuff. It's a pretty cool looking cover, other than weird anatomical magic tricks.
Yeah. So we start off with a prologue, which is we're going to be showing like this standard, like here's Apocalypse's giant statue. But this time we have an exodus of humans. We have this huge long line of people trying to get away from the work camps and the breeding pens and trying to get to a place that is safe, which is Booth Bay Harbor, Maine.
Yep. We get a bunch of humans hanging around, and somebody with a hood comes up and does a hello, fellow kids, in the form of, can you believe this, citizen? Which is like extremely suspicious.
Yes.
Believe this, citizen? Freedom, a chance to get away from this nightmare. And everyone's like, yeah, this is our plan.
Yeah, this let me tell you everything that's going on, fellow child.
It's very, very fellow child. The kids are like, oh, is your razor really safe? They're like, oh, it's awesome. You'll get to have music and television and stuff. It's Crush.
It's
kiddo.
Crush, kiddo. It's Crush.
Yep.
Which I mean, like
But-
if you look at these two of the young girls at the bottom right of the panel, like those girls have definitely said crush before in their real life. Like that chick is wearing a matching hat. Like she's crushed.
The one on the right looks like Paula Abdul, kind of like dressed up in like a cool Paula Abdul. It's like trench coat and hat, you know. So they're there. You know, he says
killing humans. I like to use my mutant powers.
well, that's why she's called Copycat too. This is like MC Copycat. Is the mutant who's undercover. You know, so she leaves. The What Up Fellow Kids shows up, and this is Copycat, as we mentioned, who's going back, and she has a moment of like crisis of faith, like, you know, I feel bad for these people. You know, why are they getting killed and I'm fine? And then she like tamps down the blasphemy in her head.
Yes. And she meets up with the Madri, previously mentioned Jamie Madrox's multiple clones of himself that are also like a religious cult, which is still extremely cool, like a very, very cool thing into it.
And they're basically just saying like, hey, you know, the humans hope to escape. There is no escape. Let's destroy them because we're evil.
Yes.
They'll fall into the abyss. So this is Abyss's little team.
Yeah.
Cut back to the Xavier estate where we're getting a training montage. Bishop is watching them train here, and what they're training against is a Sentinel. You know, which is extremely unusual because they're not enemies, and we kind of learn from this that what they're doing is they're practicing this exercise to make the Sentinels not fight them when they go to help the Sentinels.
Yes. So when they show up unexpectedly to help out, when they show up uninvited to the party, they're basically just hacking their way onto the guest list like they're fucking Tom Cruise in a Mission Impossible episode, right? Like
it's very hacky. Like it's very like cyberpunk what they're doing here. Yeah, and we're just getting this little action training scene.
Yeah,
where they're doing their little teamwork, setting each other up. You know, Exodus blast open a thing so Quicksilver can put a data disk into him. We didn't mention this is Andy Kubert again with the art, and he only has a very limited amount of time to do this.
Yeah, not Quicksilver, not Andy Kubert.
Yeah, Quicksilver had to draw this in under 6 seconds. So, yeah, Quicksilver only has a limited number of time. He does it. He asks for time, and for some reason, like you know, Dazzler is making the Sentinel like it's a hard light Sentinel.
Yes.
So she's not participating, which is really weird to me. You know, she's working the stopwatch, which seems like not very dignified for Dazzler to me.
I don't know. Let me see. Her power is light. What is she going to do to a fucking Sentinel? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You know, lasers. She shoots lasers, man.
It's light. It's not lasers. It's light.
She shoots lasers. Somebody hasn't played the X-Men arcade game.
Oh, sorry. I didn't realize we were going back to the fucking canon. My bad.
Yeah, don't make me pull rank. Dazzler's outfit in this is very funny to me. It seems very impractical.
Yeah, like I kind of like the stripes on the thighs, and also she's a smoker, which people seem to not like very much, which is very weird to me. Like it's a very cool kid thing, but also we need to let you know that that's unhealthy at the same time.
Well, specifically, it's unhealthy because Exodus comes up and stops her because they're making out, like they're a item, you know. He's like, hey, she's smoking, and she lights it with her laser finger, and then they're talking about how they have to get like much closer to the Sentinel to do this, you know, and it's a real problem. They kind of existentially whinge, and then Exodus pops up and takes the cigarette out of her mouth. Makes your breath smell like garbage.
I can't wait to get more Iceman. I know I keep saying that, but like, look at the way Iceman is drawn in that panel on the top right. Like, it just looks like a weird ice monster. I'm fucking here for weird Iceman to do some stuff. Yeah.
It's cool. He gets blown up later and he can put himself back together. It's neat.
Fucking dope.
Good Iceman.
As they're talking and kind of reviewing this stuff, Magneto shows up, and and he shows up by activating what he looks like activating the Sentinel behind them and freaking them out, and it's really just a trick to say like you shouldn't.
This is super weird. Magneto doesn't do it. Dazzler does.
Yeah.
But I don't know why they have a illusory. It's because of like danger room reasons. But it just feels like they could have programmed a Sentinel and then had Magneto bring it back. But it's actually Dazzler who does it, and she apologizes for it later. It's very strange to me.
Yes.
So, yeah. And he's doing this to teach him a lesson. Like, hey, double tap. Like, just because you think your opponent is down, maybe he's not.
Yeah. Don't turn your back on the card.
Yeah. They're all kind of talking about what they are. Banshee's like, oh, I should have stayed in retirement. Hey, we never retired. Does that make us idiots? And Magneto's like, am I an idiot for training a group of soldiers who neglect their opponent? If I'm not a fool, you're not a fool. What does that make us? And then Bishop says dreamers, but it looks like Charles, the baby
Charles the baby says it. Oh yeah, I thought the same thing. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. And it just and it's also, I just love here, hold my kid, amnesiac stranger.
Sure, we trust you.
One hand my kid, palm my kid like a basketball, please. Stranger. It's very good. Bishop is basically saying they're dreamers. Allison. Why am I forgetting her real fucking name or her code name?
Dazzler.
Weird.
Dude.
Yeah, I just man, the brain glycogen's not going.
That happens to me all the time. It makes me feel like I'm like rotting from the inside out. Like it's so fucking terrifying.
Yeah. I'm gonna turn like September 8th. I'm just gonna crumble into fucking dust.
Oh man,
it's the end of me.
I know, dude. You've got 2 months on me. I'm just watch how you act in 2 months, and I'll be like, okay, I can avoid all of this. I've got 2 months to fix it.
We're like Pontiff Sullivan. Like I'll do the move before he does.
Exactly.
Iceman is still showing his skepticism
of
Bishop, which has been his kind of character trait for this whole time.
Yeah, basically saying like, why should we trust you? And also like, if we believe that you have this weird like miracle cure, why should we try to do anything? And Magneto interrupts this by like, hey, he can't really blame, like you can't really blame him for not remembering shit. Like he's out of time essentially. Like meanwhile, we've got a bunch of other stuff to take care of, and he lists other stuff happening in other issues that we'll talk about later. And so they're on to talk about their own. And then Magneto just like grabs Dazzler by the face and is like, hey girl, let me tell you, we're gonna fight forever. And I'm like, are you about to make out with this chick? What is happening right now? Magneto, chill.
And this is right after Exodus was just like, she just lit another cigarette in front of Exodus to like kind of tell him off. And then Magneto walks up behind her, again palming his child like a basketball in one hand, grabbing her face with the other, and it's very weird.
Very good.
Basically saying we have to do as if Bishop's not right. We still have to do all the same stuff.
Yes. In the corner, like after he gives this speech, Iceman is like, now that's inspirational. That's what I'm here for. But while he's doing it, he just makes himself into what looks like a giant crow's ice sculpture. And I'm like, how obnoxious was this dude to hang around?
Dude, like it would be cold all the time
and kind of wet,
and turning into fucking like weird monsters. Yeah, it'd be damp.
Yeah,
all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like living in a basement, turns the whole world into his basement. So he's basically calling out Magneto, like, I called you out on your death wish before, try to be a little bit more optimistic.
Yeah.
They talk more about the data disk to mask them from the Sentinels. And they say, hey, let's continue. Let's get the Sentinels hunting Apocalypse's people instead of us.
Yes. So they have to make this trip to Maine, and Iceman kind of hints at like, hey, we don't have a plane anymore, so I can take everybody, but you know how uncomfortable that is. And they're like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. We're not, none of that. Nobody wants that right now. Like I can fly and I can carry somebody before I will submit myself to that.
Yeah. Well, it's fucking awesome that Iceman can break people down into their water molecules and then reconstitute them.
Yeah, fuck, dude. What the hell?
Yeah, Iceman is extremely cool in the Age of Apocalypse. But they're just like, yeah, that fucking sucks. Like, and we're all tired afterwards. He's like, well, we can carry people. Well, that'll make us tired too. Magneto's like, no. Exodus will teleport you there. And he's like, I can't do that. He's like, yes, you can. If you trust me, you can. Just think about it and it'll happen. Magneto has been keeping, he rescued Exodus and he's been keeping the scope of his powers hidden in case he gets recruited by Apocalypse, which is a tactical move.
Yeah. And also, like, it seems kind of a betrayal of I'm going to hide shit about you away from you so that you don't use it in the future against me. It is like is basically gaslighting 101. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. You can't run the Xavier school if you don't do that.
True.
Like Xavier died, somebody had to hide. Somebody had to Dark Phoenix. People.
Somebody had to Dark Phoenix Gene. Somebody was going to do it.
Yep. So Xavier's not alive to do it. So they teleport away. Exodus can do this.
Yeah.
Magneto explains how he's been gaslighting Exodus. I don't like Exodus's costume.
No,
especially like straight on the front. Like it's really goofy. It looks like the Grand Galactic Inquisitor.
Yeah.
And one of these things, like that's really silly.
It looks like his mom made it.
Yeah. It's really weird. One of the worst costume designs in this, because the actual Exodus in the 616 looks cool.
Yeah. Although, like, once Iceman, that's not Iceman. That's okay. So that's Banshee with the giant V on his chest. Okay, cool. Never mind. I thought that was Iceman for a minute, but yeah, not at all. So they teleport over to this like human encampment in Maine, and they're basically going incognito. They're trying not to let anybody see them.
Mm-hmm. They run into those ragamuffins before, but this time they run into Quicksilver instead of Copycat. They're all wearing hoods under disguise. He tells the kid to look where he's running. It's cute. And they're talking about like what they'll have to sacrifice. Of course, lots of Strum and Durang, just hanging out, drinking coffee.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, they're supposed to be hiding that they're mutants. In one panel, Dazzler is definitely using her laser powers to heat up a pot of coffee.
Yep.
Should not be doing that.
No.
And Storm is the one who's so part of they've been coordinating with the Eurasian High Council. So part of the whole plan is that Storm goes and whips up this thunderstorm, which knocks out their sensor arrays.
Yeah, allowing the Sentinels to get close. Yeah. And they do, and we get this cool splash shot of a bunch of Sentinels just wrecking shop as they have broken through this base's sensors. And like Storm confirms like, oh, this information we got, it's accurate. Like the Eurasian are going to do an ultimate strike, and then before they do that, we're going to try to get all the humans out, and we're going to help them. So now that Storm is done, we go back over to the humans, where a young lad by the name of Jeremy gets pulled into the woods, and I'm like, hey guys, not cool, not cool.
He's doing it to get a better view of the Sentinels. And as he's going off into the woods, Abyss grabs him and sucks him into the darkness. So very spooky. I think that's where Blink was. I think Blink was trapped inside Abyss, and that's where Sabretooth rescued her from.
Oh, okay.
Which is really interesting. Like you can just be trapped there and you can come back.
Yeah.
Abyss is a cool character. Abyss is spooky to me.
Yeah. Very, very Cloak-like in that regard. Of just like, I'm going inside you for a little while. Now I'm not inside you anymore.
I really like this little bit, so the Sentinels come out, and I like this little bit, the people all had this expectation that they'd be these saviors, but of course it's actually really scary. They're gigantic killer robots who are just coming down screaming at them, and like it's really loud and bright, and these are families. The idea that they would be terrified of this, I really like.
And they start seeing, the first thing the Sentinels see is Jean Grey and Logan, who are not supposed to be here. They're supposed to be in London, and so they immediately confuses them saying like, oh, if they're here, how are they there? Which gives our team enough time to go and plant the data disk to allow them to be friendly mutants and not bad mutants.
Yep. And this allows them to, so they improvise here. Quicksilver beat his best time by half a second. But they still have to wait a little while before it uploads, to everybody. Like everybody gets, gets the updated information. And as they are, so they detect some mutants there. The Sentinels do. And Iceman is like, oh, we're going to be friends now. They detect new mutant activity and they blast Iceman out of the air.
Yes.
Exploding him into pieces. They mentioned like he can reconstitute, but they're like, man, why, I thought the Sentinels were supposed to be on our side. And we cut over to Abyss and his people here, or his team. We don't see Abyss yet. And they're the people who cyber scrambled the disk. So basically they got hacked themselves.
The hackers got hacked, Gary. It's a double hack.
It is a double hack. I don't know who a lot of these people are.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like, obviously that's Wendigo, but like, try to name the rest of these without seeing their powers, right?
Copycat, who I know.
Of course.
You know, we saw her earlier. I do not know who this guy who's not Havoc. You know who not Havoc is. Whatever this thing is in the background, this mechanical thing that scrambled the data disk.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
And then the guy on the left, I think, is one of the acolytes. So that's all I got. But yeah, so now there's a fight. And it's like a three-way fight. Like the Sentinels are there. The Sentinels might be on the side of the bad guys. It's unclear at this point.
Yes.
But pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they turned it on them.
And
Nice.
that's the end of this issue. And this is going to be our last, as you mentioned, our last first issue in the series. Our next episode is going to be on issue number 2 of Astonishing X-Men. This is good. Again, like a lot of setup. Like, how fucking ballsy is it to like relaunch 12 titles? It feels like, and all with number ones, and to be like, all right, we're getting into it. We're committing. Like, this is a huge undertaking.
He does it once a year, so you know who knows.
Yeah.
little comics humor there. Yeah, I don't know. It is pretty neat. So
yeah,
I also enjoy it.
If you enjoy this podcast, you should go over to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv and give us some dollars. It goes a long way to support the network and Gary and myself. That also gets you a lot of benefits like exclusive content, access to the Slack server, and episodes early. You can also tell your friends about the show or leave reviews. That helps us out quite a bit. You can follow us on Twitter at DOFC Podcast. I hope that's our name. I can't ever remember which one it is. There's other guys with a name that's like Days of Future Podcast or something. And we're like, that's not us, but it's close.
There's a Future Cast podcast, which I'm sure they're nice people. I've never heard their show.
Yeah.
But it was right there. Like, I know we scooped you, you know, but like, boy, why would you not portmanteau that?
You gotta, dude. You gotta.
Propane Maniacs.
Should we have renamed this Age of Apocalypse or something when we started doing Age of Apocalypse? Like, should we go through all of that effort to rebrand?
There was one of the draft titles I had for this was Age of Apocalypse.
I remember that. Yeah, I'd forgotten about that. Jesus.
Yeah, so we could have rebranded as Age of Apocalypse for a little while. But that was the joke title. Because Apocalypse is not a very good portmanteau.
No. And also, like, imagine trying to get somebody to search for Apocalypse on...
How do you spell it?
Yeah, how would we spell it? Like, I would be confused.
Yeah. So thanks everybody for listening. We really appreciate you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
And we'll see you next time.